Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Relief Report with your host, me, Stephanie Clairmont, registered dietitian and the founder of StephanieClairmont.com and the Clarity Program to help you with digestive health issues, overcome irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, any kind of digestive health issue you're dealing with. Now, I'll lead us here. Let's make sure you can see and hear me. I'm a little out of breath today. I have a little bit of a scratchy throat. I was at Tony Robbins for 5 days in New Jersey last week, and I'm recovering from very little sleep, a lot of fun, high energy days, a lot of learning, a lot of really great connections and strategies, and was a lot of fun. So excuse my voice. I'll just give it a couple minutes here to get people on board. But this is the show where I show up for you every single week to share with you the newest information, research, things that are coming out in the media, devices, all kinds of things to help you to live an incredible life so that you can feel well, feel better, get back to feeling like your normal, beautiful self, and overcome those awful symptoms, things like gas, bloating, discomfort, abdominal pain, diarrhea, constipation, all the things that keep us frustrated and down. So I am here with you, giving you the strategies and the tips to get well. So today we have 3 really cool stories to chat about with you, and I have my notes. And if you have any questions, any comments, if there's anything you've seen in the media or anything that's, you're questioning or wondering about when it comes to healing from digestive health issues, when it comes to the low FODMAP diet, when it comes to any of the diets from paleo to SCD to, anything that you're reading or seeing about to help you improve your health. If you're seeing anything out there, please post in the comments or send us a message or, let us know if there's something that we can dig deep and get to the bottom of to help you out. The team and I also run our program to help clients and our members get to relief within 7 weeks and get very, very clear on what's triggering their symptoms. So if you need to take this and you want to take this to the next level where you get a step-by-step plan, you let us know and we're here to help as well. So let's start with some research. Our research update for this week is mothers following a low FODMAP diet may be associated with a reduction in infant colic symptoms. Now, if you're unsure what infant colic symptoms are, it's a discomfort in babies that in this study, they really looked at crying. And so what they found was mothers reported crying decreased by 52 minutes on a daily basis when the mother followed a low FODMAP diet. Now, this is a really interesting story. And one of the reasons why we're doing this show is that research can be twisted and turned to be phrased and used for the author's benefit. So whatever, a reader or a show or whatever people want you to believe or think, you can actually manipulate the research to tell you that. So I wanted to talk about this story today because it doesn't mean that everyone should go low FODMAP, and it doesn't mean that every mama should go low FODMAP, or that, every mama with a baby that cries should eat a low FODMAP diet. That is absolutely not what it means at all. And that we should all be eating really wonderful, beautiful foods with as much variety as possible. And the low FODMAP diet is very restrictive. And it's only meant for those of us with digestive health issues to be followed for a very short time, an elimination style diet. And then we expand our diet and we bring variety and foods back in. Well, this study showed that just a very small number of mothers, 18 mothers, that in 7 days, they followed the low FODMAP diet for 7 days, and they found a reduction in colic in their children, in their infants, which is very, very interesting. And I think what we can learn from this study, what I want you to take away, all you mamas out there, or, friends of mama, parents of mamas, everybody who might have a mama in their life with an infant, that it's hard work. I have a toddler, man, having a little baby is tough. So for all of you out there that are supporting moms or are moms, what we want to take away is that if your child, if your baby under the age of 1 while you're breastfeeding is having some kind of colicky symptoms or is uncomfortable, it's absolutely important to look at your diet and to go and talk to your doctor or your pediatrician or your dietitian about your diet to see if there's any changes you can make. It may not be low FODMAP, perhaps it's cutting out dairy, or it's cutting out one of the FODMAP groups, or, it's kind of trying to identify triggers in your diet that are triggering your infant. So I really want to make sure that we're getting really clear on what the takeaways are from research. And if you see articles out there that are maybe spinning it in a way that doesn't feel right or is scary, I want you to know that it's research and we have to interpret it. So that's what we get out of this. It's not for every mom to go low FODMAP, but it's absolutely for if you have an infant or a mom who's really struggling with a colicky infant, that diet does play a role, and that FODMAPs might be able to help, followed for a short time. All right, so our next story for today is going to be about cashews. Now, if you are someone who has gone through a protocol to eat well for digestion, eliminate FODMAPs, integrate lots of great strategies to help you overcome symptoms and get really clear on what your triggers are, and you've been sticking to the low FODMAP diet, maybe you've started to integrate new foods, or you're still in the elimination phase, depending on where you're at. What we want to talk about today is that Monash actually found that small servings, about 15 grams, which is 10, of activated cashews are actually low on FODMAPs. So this is great because we want to expand our diets. When we have digestive issues, we want to eat well, so we are very clear on our symptom triggers and we feel really well and feel like ourselves. We can overcome those symptoms. We also want to expand our diet and include as many delicious, wonderful foods as possible. I personally love cashews. They are delicious. And there's really cool recipes that you can make with cashews, like cashew dressing, and like we do a tofu and cashew dressing, and cashews can be used in kind of baked goods and all kinds of stuff. So what they found was that activated cashews are actually low in FODMAP. So this is really interesting, and it touches on what we talked about last week in regards to food and FODMAP foods. Remember, FODMAPs are these very easily fermented sugars that when they're consumed can be fermented in the gut, and then they cause and trigger gas and bloating and discomfort and pain and all the symptoms. But what we find, or what the scientists are finding at Monash, is when you kind of take that food and you treat it a little bit differently. Remember, sugars are water soluble. When that happens, you can actually tolerate the food a lot better. So activated cashews, I didn't know this, but they're actually cashews that are treated in water. So they're soaked in water, and it allows them to be a bit more sweet and a bit more tender and soft, which is cool. And then they're consumed. So they've kind of been hot these days with the paleo diet and whatnot. But the activated cashews, so we're taking these cashews, which have FODMAPs in them, the sugars, put them in water, and what happens? Those sugars start to leach into the water. So this is kind of what we've seen with, different kind of foods and different things that we've been talking about, that Monash is kind of looking at them in different forms. That happens with mushrooms, it happens with cabbage. Depending on the kind of food and the way it's treated, it can change, and then you can tolerate it better. So it's all about, eating as many foods as you can, enjoying delicious food, but while you manage those symptoms. And so I think we're getting some really cool information out of Monash as they try these different types of foods. So activated cashews, that means soaked in water, have less of those FODMAPs, and can be less triggering of your symptoms, which is really cool. Now, for those of us that do not have IBS, I have IBS, but for those of you or people that don't have IBS, there's no reason why you need to be eating the activated cashews. There is some ideas around, it pulling out the phytates in the cashews, but we do know that there are some health benefits to phytates, and they have anti-inflammatory processes. So we're not going to dig into that, but just so you know, that's why people are soaking their cashews. And finally, we have one more thing to talk about, and that is that the low FODMAP diet is showing up in big media, which is very cool to see that, more and more people are talking about the benefits of the low FODMAP diet and getting it out in the world, but we do want to make sure we're providing people with the right advice. And it showed up in the Huffington Post just recently. And the point of this article is that the low FODMAP diet is not forever. And that's so, so exciting that we are seeing not just media talking about FODMAPs for health, but we're seeing media talk truthfully about FODMAPs and allowing people to know that FODMAPs, or the low FODMAP diet, is a temporary diet. It's meant to be followed for 6 weeks at the most, and then you start to expand and reintroduce and challenge foods into your diet so you can clarify exactly what's triggering your symptoms and exactly what foods you can include and what you need to avoid moving forward. And just get to that place where you have relief and you feel fantastic. That is the whole point. So we see some authors here in the Huffington Post being interviewed and chatting about the diet, and that it's very, very important that you bring FODMAPs back in, that you get to that point where you're clear on your symptom triggers, where you can bring foods back in, because a lot of these FODMAP foods are good, have are good for our gut bacteria. And we talk about that a lot, how important expansion of the diet is for your general digestion, for good digestion, for the bacteria that lives in your gut. So if you're not following a plan, a step-by-step plan to implement all kinds of good for digestion strategies, the low FODMAP diet, and a plan to challenge those foods and get clear on what you can eat and what you can't eat, then I highly, highly recommend that you look into our program, which we are just about to release in 2 weeks, our new version, our finalized version of the program called Clarity. And we have a wait list going on. I'll pop the URL for the waitlist in the comments below once I'm done broadcasting, and you can join the waitlist. We're going to release it very, very soon. I think next week is our goal to get people off the waitlist coming on into the program, and we have limited spots for just the first run. So get on that waitlist if you're interested. If you want that step-by-step process to get to relief, to get clear on what symptoms you have and what foods you can have and what you can't have, what's triggering your symptoms and how you can live well, overcome IBS, IBD, and feel fantastic like yourself, like you should feel. All right, my friends, I'm going to post that URL for you if you want to check out that wait list and you want to join us for the program or you want to hear more about it. And I hope you found these stories interesting. As always, please post any comments, any questions, any links to stories you want us to break down, anything you need to learn more about, or any questions about how I can serve you, how the team and I can get you into our program, and how I can be of any help to you. All right? Have a really wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you again next week on the Relief Report. Bye for now.